Bernie's Road with an update on the recent court ruling blocking the interim rule on non-domicile CDLs from being issued. While Jorge and Alex celebrated partial victory, I want to highlight a few reasons why this is far from over. Also, I want to shed light on a dissent from one of the appeal judge on the ruling, as well as who actually initiated this in the first place, hearing it straight from Jorge's mouth, and compare his words to the dissenting judge's words. Finally, we'll see what Secretary Sean Duffy has to say about this ongoing case and how it's far from over. All right, as he wants to turn Jorge's short term victory into permanent agony. Plus, I'll highlight other news that can spell disaster for the litigants in this case, Alex and Lujan. So,
My name is George Rivera, and I am the one that put the lawsuit against FMCSA. It all started because I heard the rule, but I wasn't included in that. So I went to the DMV, and that's when they told me that pretty much I wasn't eligible no more. And I got frustrated, and I made a video, and it went viral. So it got viral that news started reaching out to me. And then after the news hit, then a bunch of there's a Public Citizens, which is the organization that's doing the lawsuit. They reached out to me saying, "Hey, you want to sue?" At first, I was like, I don't know about
let's hear that
this.
one more
I heard the
time so
rule,
we make sure we
but I
heard them
wasn't clear if I was
clear.
included or not. So I went to the DMV, and that's when they told me that pretty much I wasn't eligible no more. And I got frustrated, and I made a video, and it went viral. So it got viral that news started reaching out to me. And then after the news hit, then a bunch of there's a Public Citizens, which is the organization that's doing the lawsuit. They reached out to me saying, "Hey, you want to sue?" At first, I was like, I don't know about that, right? I don't want to put a target on my back. But then after that video hit, a bunch of people started messaging me directly. They're like, "Hey, man, like, what can we do? Hey, man." So many people started reaching out, and that's when it hit me. It's not just me. It's a lot of people.
All right,
And the thing
one
is that
more
some
time
people,
because this is
I got
important.
frustrated, and I made a video, and it went viral. So it got viral that news started reaching out to me. And then after the news hit, then a bunch of there's a Public Citizens, which is the organization that's doing the lawsuit. They reached out to me saying, "Hey, you want to sue?" At first, I was like, I don't know about that, right? I don't want to put a target on my back.
I
But
wanted to
then
play that because it's important that you hear those words. This was not anything that was initiated by Jorge Lujan. This was an act of lawfare. We're living in a climate where everything that this Trump administration tries to do um, to enforce the will of the people, you have people that are part of the lawfare campaign who are pushing back and each and every way they can. And in some instances, they've been known for judge shopping. And so they called Lujan and said, "Hey, we want to see if you want to be the face of this lawsuit that we can push in the hopes of reversing this rule. So that's Lujan. That's him. Now I want to show you the judge. Okay, the dissent in the judge. Remember what he said, that he got contacted by Public Citizens Group. Listen what the dissenting judge says regarding the. Listen, let's just read it. This is, however, a sliver of hope for DOT's rule. Circuit Judge Karen LeCraft Henderson disagreed with the rest of the judges and issued a dissenting opinion. Henderson raised an alarm over the increasing trend of litigants asking us to decide complex, novel, and controversial questions via emergency stay motions, deciding first on blocking the rule and then weighing the actual merits of the case months later is practically inappropriate here, she added, preferring rather that the court expedite our review of the merits. So she's saying that this is a trend that we've never seen before, where Litigants are asking us to decide cases, controversial, novel, via emergency stay motions. And so, what these federal courts are doing, district judges are doing, is granting the emergency stay before they even have enough information or actually thoroughly reviewed the case. Whereas Henderson is saying that we should weigh the actual merits of the case um, first before we issue a ruling, or or in other words, and expedite our review of the merits, not just block it without having the merits and the actual merits of the case. She goes on to say Henderson did not find it likely that the lawsuit would succeed in finding the petitioners, like named plaintiff owner operator Jorge Rivera Lujan, can prove irreparable harm, and that stopping the rule was in the public interest. So she don't think this lawsuit is going to win. Furthermore, the judge found it reasonable that DOT would issue the rule under emergency circumstances without first posting advance notice and allowing comments, putting stock in FMCSA's statement that warning the rule could cause a concentrated surge of non-domicile CDL applicants. Henderson did find FMCSA put forth sufficient evidence not only of non-domicile drivers lacking safety, but also that they don't meet licensing requirements that ask for applicants' driver's records. So she agreed with the state, with the government, the DOT. It should go without saying that our nation's roadways are safer the fewer people there are operating 18-wheelers, buses, and delivery trucks with unchecked driving histories, Henderson wrote. For now, the court has only evaluated a few dozen pages of written arguments from the plaintiffs and DOT. As Henderson notes, the question around non-domicile CDL issuance are complicated and a new one for the DC court. Importantly, the lawsuit did not come from any trucking organization, rather from labor groups and civil rights litigators.
Joe Biden let in, 10, 15 million illegals into the country, gave them work permits, work authorization, and these folks went out and they got commercial driver's licenses. And they're on the road. You just showed a lot of the footage. People are dying. And we thought it was appropriate to protect Americans that we should have an emergency rule, not to go through the month-long process. We did that. The court has rolled us back and said, well, we're not quite sure this is an emergency. We want to see more data. And I'm like, watch the Ingram angle. Watch any show on television, and you see the risk to the American people. And so, again, we're working on the legal strategy right now, but we are not going to take this lying down. We are going to do all we can to protect the American people. Joe Biden let in, 10, right, 15 million illegals into the country.
You hear Secretary Sean Duffy. It's not over. It's not over. It's a short-term victory.
What's going on? I got a little update for the state of Iowa and the state of Utah, but I'm gonna do Iowa first. So this, and another thing is the EOD style. I keep saying EOP, English language proficiency.
So we're going to come back to this, man, because essentially what he's talking to his DACA recipients.
My people, dude, if you guys feel that,
he's telling the DACA recipients who don't know English that they can't complain about English language proficiency. That's the actual rule. See, these people want to challenge everything. They want everything changed.
You know who you are, man.
So he has to let them know that ELP is not part of this new rule.
Over this, but it is what it is, man. I'm fighting for don't include us on the same rule. But with that being said, I'm not saying that there's not a problem with the system. There's not a problem with the trucking industry. If you know you can't speak English, go to school, bro. Get something going and do better for yourself, because that's not going to stop. No, this whole thing with the license, this rule, even if we win this, you guys have to, they're not going to come and just, oh, yeah, we lost. They're going to come back again. And they're going to find another way. They're already working on this law. You guys do your research, bro. The Congress, the politics in the background, they're working on this law. I think it's called Connor's Law. It's worse than this rule,
It's
So
actually the
don't
it's
think
actually the
don't think quiet right now. Don't think they're not
non-domicile
working their shit
integrity act.
underneath, in the background. They're still doing their thing. But my thing is like, let's not give.
So he's talking about the non-domicile integrity act. But even if they lose this case and that law gets passed, he's still pretty good. Now, let's check out this article right here. Well, actually, that was the dissenting argument from the judge. Let's check out this right here. Is it here? It's not it. I don't know why I changed things. Why did I change? So right here, again, what I wanted to come up here and make this video is this thing is not over. They may have won a ruling in federal court, of course, by biased liberal judges responding to lawfare. Okay, because that's what this is. They're responding to lawfare. As you heard the dissenting judge said, we've never done anything like this before, where cases are brought to us and we're issuing emergency rules without hearing reviewing the entire case. She said, what we should do is actually expedite the review of the merits and then make a ruling. But we just can't be blocking things just because we don't like who it's coming from. And she doesn't think this is like they have a legitimate argument. I mean, she knows that it's dangerous on these roads. And y'all are trying to make it dangerous for me and my family by giving these non-domicile CDLs to each and everybody. But so some states are acting and some states are not.
ICE arresting a man from Uzbekistan earlier this month while he was driving a commercial truck in Kansas. DHS says this 31-year-old Akror Bozorov was led into the country by Joe Biden's administration. He was wanted in Uzbekistan in 2022 for alleged ties to terrorism. He was granted work authorization in the United States in early 2024. His commercial driver's license was issued in Pennsylvania. And the photo that DHS released even shows him having a real ID, Secretary. You've gone after California for issuing 17,000 commercial driver's licenses to illegals. Is it time to federalize CDL certifications? What are you doing here? And I mean, it's just astounding to me that someone who was tied to terrorism in Uzbekistan actually got a license to drive a commercial vehicle in Kansas.
Yeah, so first off, it goes to show you that Joe Biden and his administration didn't do any background checks on who is coming into the country. They offered them asylum and they offered them work authorizations and then allowed them to go out and get commercial driver's licenses and operate on American roads, endangering American citizens. And so we have had new rules that have come out to say, you know what, we're going to tighten this up. If you come legally, you have a visa or you're coming from one state to another, you can get what's called a non-domiciled CDL. These are the licenses that these foreigners are using. But to tighten up the rules means we're going to have more safety on American roads. But you mentioned 17,000 from California. We think other states have also issued many illegally commercial driver's licenses. There were 200,000 non-domiciled CDLs issued to foreigners.
Wow.
We think 194,000 of them were issued illegally.
Oh my goodness.
And would not comply with our new rule. And so again, you've aired these crashes, Maria.
Yeah.
They're horrific. When people can't understand the English language, they can't read signs, and they don't know the rules of our road.
Terrible.
That's a problem. Americans aren't safe. And we also see that there's CDL mills, commercial driver's license mills, where people aren't being properly trained. They're being pushed through getting licenses, and then again driving across the country. If I can make one last point, Maria, it's driving American truckers out of business.
Good point.
And American trucking companies driving the wages down. That's not why we're taking this action, but that's a real consequence of having all these foreigners come in.
That's a great point.
What we're going to do is see those wages rise, and it's still a good paying job in America to be an American truck driver.
Secretary, let me.
Now you see Maria reaction, and that's every American's reaction. It's interesting that these federal judges don't see it that way. We clearly have a problem in this country with federal judges, that the likes that I've never imagined. I mean, who would have prepared us for when the time when we want to have pride in our country, make our country great, trucking made successful, says, and it is strange that I am surprised that California is actually saying no to renewing non-domicile CDLs despite the court stay. Found this on Facebook, original and translated. Here goes Trump getting made successful again. Says states responded to the court stay on the non-domicile CDLs. Out of the states that responded to overdrive, all of them said they would not restart the processing of non-domicile CDLs. Arizona, Colorado, Minnesota, or Missouri. I'm so slow. New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, Texas, Virginia, Washington. They all said no. We are not processing non-domicile CDLs. California did not respond, but from what I see, they are not processing either. Nevada is completely ceasing the non-domicile CDL program permanently. Yeah, man. So as I'm in this video, man, this can end up two ways for Luan. I said it can end up good or it can end up bad. And I say Luan, I meant Jorge and the other litigants who filed this. And what I meant was, I said worst case scenario, they are the best case scenario, worst case scenario, they win the case, right? But it won't stop the spotlight now that has been shown, has been lit up on them. And it doesn't matter whether you get the non-domicile or not. If you're on these roads illegally, you are now under, you're under the threat of being pulled over and not just put out of service, but deported. So best case, worst case scenario, they win completely, but it's not going to stop enforcement of people on the highways, these foreigners here illegally. There is a problem here that we still need to address, and that's with the H-1B visas. There's some legislation that is trying to be pushed, essentially that would greenlit H-1B visas and foreigners and DACA and asylum seekers and refugees. So I'll get back on that on another time.